The United States of America is still a new concept in 1836, a great experiment of democratic principles in a world defined and ruled by monarchs. Even during our founding, many suggested we could not exist nor prosper without one to rule our country, yet we rejected this. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness will guide us, as well as our presidents chosen by the people. It is an exciting time to be an American. The West is still completely untamed. Though borders may mark it with lines on a map, the reality is meaningless. The plains are still full of buffalo herds whose thunderous steps fill the air with their power. The Indians still live independently, though their land is constantly being settled upon and their lands grow smaller by the day. Out in Colorado and California, there are rumors of rivers filled with gold, loads so big they would make a man richer than Midas himself. Back in the East, immigrants pour into our ports, seeking a better life, away from the political wars and economic stagnation that has caused Europe to become a place of despair. Though Napoleon to us meant the expansion of our territory almost twofold, to Europe it meant wars not seen in history and suffering on an extraordinary level. We must rely upon our wooden wall of ships to protect us and reinforce the Monroe Doctrine, a policy which demands Europeans not to interfere in the politics of the Americas. For President Jackson, this is of pinnacle importance. Though the great American giant may still be sleeping, it will not be long before we wake. So obviously a lot of people are just basic subsistence farmers, and we are still getting fertilizer to be used out west. So the first thing the Jackson administration is going to be doing is working on explicitly pushing fertilizer products on a lot of our farms out west in order to stop relying so much on imports. So let's work on that. Given we are running a surplus of fertilizer, we should be able to do it without any major issues. We'll build the central archives. We're going to work on expanding the governmental administration in the United States. Given that we are rapidly going west and expanding very quickly, I think it would be a primary concern of Jackson, even though he is more of a conservative, I don't want to say bumpkin, but I'm going to go with bumpkin. He might not be the most pro-government when he ran, but given that he's now in charge and he realizes that the just vastness of the U.S. is hard to administrate from the capital, which is still being built, he's going to want to really work on that. President Andrew Jackson has defied the ruling of the Supreme Court and ordered the removal of the Cherokee people to the Indian Territory. What does the Supreme Court's opinion matter? All we need to do is build a fire under them, and when it gets hot enough, they'll move, and what's ours will be ours. Greetings. Is this President David Burnett?
Yes, hello.
I'm an ambassador from Washington at the behest of President Jackson. I believe you attempted to speak with us not too long ago.
Yes, we sent our diplomats over.
Indeed.
We just got some great news. Our armies have kicked out the Mexicans at the Alamo. So right now we think we will be secured and not under threats.
Congratulations. Truly a great victory for Texas. We are very glad to hear that, given that you do have a lot of cultural similarities to the United States. I'd just like to have a very frank conversation. My government does find Texas to be a very good buffer in between the United States and Mexico, given their expansion up in the north and with the Indian territories. And I'd just like to see if you would, President Jackson has expressed an interest in heavily cooperating with independent Texas to really become a good buffer state in between us and Mexico. Is this something that you'd be interested in?
That sounds mighty fine to us, so long as you promise to protect us in case the Mexicans get another idea of marching down.
I'm glad to hear you are a most reasonable man. In that case, I will get some paperwork written up, and we will have that sent on over to you. Would you be opposed to us establishing a permanent consulate here in Austin?
No opposition.
Wonderful.
Come on in.
Of course, we will have that paid for by ourselves. So we are glad to hear that you are a most reasonable man, and we look forward to cooperation with the independent country of Texas.
We're looking forward to you too, sir.
Wonderful. All right, am I going to try and do a old school American accent? It's a hard question to ask myself here. We are under, obviously, Andrew Jackson. He's from the rural folk, which is more the poor, regular Americans. They're in a party with the Southern Planters, which is the Democratic Party. Most of you know this, but if you don't, basically back in the day, the Democrats were the really right conservative party, which is different now. The other one's the Whigs, so they're not currently in power. We have a lot of legitimacy, and let's see, he is bigoted. Shocker. And he is an experienced diplomat, so that looks good. We have activist interest groups, which is the engines of progress, which reduce our production technology costs. We have family ties, which gives us influence, and we have honest work, which gives us more output from a lot of our buildings. Henry Clay, the leader of the Intelligentsia, has proposed outright prohibiting slavery in all of our new Western territories. Some opponents demand simple moderation, but others are demanding legalization of slavery in new territories. Jackson would have been right in the middle, so we'd try and just stay out of this. Yeah, we'll go state by state issue. We are staying very stagnant because we are only building governmental facilities. We're working on iron mines now, though, and that will help improve the economy, given we need a lot of it, and we just don't have any. In accordance with the removal treaty, it is time for the Cherokee of American Oklahoma to relocate to the Indian Territory. Some holdouts refuse to leave their homes, and many are poorly equipped for the journey. We are currently Andrew Jackson, so we're going to force them out, because that's what he would do. Tools go into everything. The next thing we're going to do after we get a good surplus of iron is we need to build some more tool workshops so we can be self-sufficient. I'm going to be role-playing a mostly, not isolationist US, but we're not going to prioritize trade in the early days of the US in this game, given the fact that America just wouldn't at this time. Besides obviously exploiting our big southern resources like tobacco and cotton. Henry Clay is pacifist, so we won't fight any wars. He is a political operator. He is meticulous. He's southerner. And he is very pro-slavery. So that's who's in charge right now. Abolitionist martyrdom. An artist abolitionist writer died in a firefight against a pro-slavery mob, which had gathered in front of his house. The story has gone national and radicalized previously apathetic individuals high and low. Alright, here we go. The United States has been cast into a major war. I should do a Diplo post for this, but we'll do it at the end. We have gotten a lot of our troops onto the front line. Again, Zachary Taylor is just kind of holding right now. And then we have sent our second general, which I forget his name. Thomas Jessup. We have sent him as well, but he will not get there for 11 days. He's still traveling out west with his troops. At this time, there were no railroads or anything like that, so he is having to march his troops along really shitty roads just to get there. And as soon as he gets to that front, he is going to take the offensive. We are winning. Zachary Taylor is holding, and then the forces of Jessup are pushing dramatically. We are absolutely routing the natives in the Sioux Nation, and it appears this war will be done very soon. Okay, when we're done with that war, we really got to get the iron mines dealt with. We're going to build up an iron industry in the U.S., and we're going to build up a logging industry in the U.S. Then we will need to work on probably some more cotton plantations, and then we need to build up a shipping industry, because I wanted to go naval in the U.S., so we are going to work on those as our main priorities. In accordance with the removal treaty, it's time for the Cherokee of South Carolina to relocate to Indian Territory. Some holdouts refuse to leave. We're a pacifist in charge right now. He's an Intelligentista, so we will offer them assistance. Oh, that's expensive, but we'll do it. Oh, we got the Bessemer Press. Wonderful. That gives us more production methods on some of our different buildings. We'll go to a water tube boiler. That gives us a lot of really good stuff. Alright, we'll reform to get a dedicated police force. We'll work on that. That's very popular with our party and our ruling government right now. So we're going to expand the powers of the police in America. Gold rush. Gold has been discovered in South Dakota. People from all corners of the earth are converging there, confident that they will discover the next great lode to become incredibly rich. We'll get a bunch of migrant attraction out there. A story has been making the rounds about a miner who struck it rich and became the wealthiest man in his town. People in South Dakota are beginning to live beyond their means, convinced they'll all be rich soon enough. Oh, we have a dedicated police force. It did pass. Law enforcement and maximum institution investments enable law enforcement institution, decreases radicals, decreases state penalties from turmoil. And it gave us more popularity with the Intelligentista, since it was one of their biggest issues that they cared about the most. So, good. We made a major reform in the U.S. So much stuff we need. Ooh, abolitionists and proponents of slavery have been pouring into Nebraska, hoping to shape the territory's government to their liking. Paramilitary groups have already begun committing acts of violence against each other and civilians. Our president is anti-slavery, so we're going to make it a free state. Greetings. Ambassador from Texas. Welcome to Washington, D.C. What can I do for you?
It's a pleasure to be here. This city is very
As
beautiful.
always. Do you drink whiskey by chance, my friend?
Yes, I do. Do you got some for me?
I do. I know you are not my normal supporters. They don't care for the stuff myself, but I find it really rests one's weary mind after a long day, and it's been a long one. You mind if I pour yourself a little glass here?
Yes, sir.
Very well, very well.
I would like to discuss a few things with you, Mr. President.
Of course, of course. What can I do for you?
Firstly, I think we need to get a little bit closer now. Like, there's a bit of a problem here. You see, we have some trouble with some tariffs in Louisiana. which I know, sir, I know we have some good relations, but
Well, you know, we did offer you statehood. You said no. We respect that, but it's not like you're a part of the American economy. You understand? I assume you're looking for closer economic relations. Let me take a little think about this.
take your time, Mr.
I think a
President.
trade agreement would be a good way to start. As you well know, Mexico did fight a land for that their Comanche land out west, and that's worrying to me. I'm not a warlike
Yes.
man. I don't think the United States needs to be in any conflicts, but it is pretty worrying to me. I'll be honest. So, trade agreement, and I think that'd be a good way to start. What do you think about that?
That will be perfect, Mr. President. And that
Perfect.
other thing I was gonna talk to you about was indeed Mexico. I got a bit of scare on me when they started marching their armies north of the Rio Grande. Let me tell you that.
Man, I had a messenger come in here. He interrupted me and the missus in the morning, and it gave me a little bit of fear too. Yeah, I think we are more capable of fighting Mexico, but let's not go for this country. You understand? We got a lot of industry. We got to build out up west. We got a burgeoning logging industry in the Midwest. I got to be prioritizing the economy. You understand?
Of course,
Yeah.
I understand. Sir.
But you are right. I'm also a little worried about it. All right, I think the best thing, again, we do have that permanent embassy in Austin. As long as we continue to cooperate, I'm sure that I'll be able to get my Congress to approve action whereby we can get a more close alliance, so we can protect you in the event of that unfortunate eventuality. Alrighty. Well, it looks like we'll get back on a good footing, and then I'd be happy to sign those papers with you. Assuming I'm in office, I can't speak if I lose the election. Sure, you understand.
I understand perfectly,
Of
sir.
course. Anything else I can do with you, Ambassador?
Not much for now, but I'll check in with you later.
Very well. Here, you go ahead and take the rest of this whiskey back to your president. I hear he's a man who enjoys such things, and, well, I get given them often by supporters, and along with these cigars, I don't smoke myself. So, if you'd like to take that back to him with my formal acknowledgments, I'd appreciate that.
That is utmost kind of you, Mr. President, sir.
Very well. You have yourself a good day. There he is. I'm going to roleplay Lincoln correctly, though. We're not going to go straight for abolishing slavery. We're going to do it really slowly. There he is! Alrighty! Alrighty! He's 30 years old currently. He got in power a lot younger. He's the leader of the Whig Party. That's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, because Henry Clay just died. That's why. He is tactful. He is an inspirational orator. He is an experienced political operator. And he is an abolitionist, which is true. But he doesn't force abolition. He tries to do it very subtly. He was more concerned with keeping America together than getting rid of slavery. So, we're going to roleplay that correctly. The Chronicle newspaper reports a series of horrific murders in New York. According to the article, the police are powerless to stop the murderer who they dubbed the New York Ripper. Oof. Now, a lot of people are terrified, rightly so.
Hello,
Hello.
President Abraham Lincoln.
Here is the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire.
The Sultan of the Ottoman Empire has traveled all the way to Washington, D.C. to meet with me.
Of course, and I'm not alone here. I'm here with the Prussian Kaiser, as well as with my Imperial Guard.
So many sultans and monarchs in Washington, D.C. This is a great honor.
Of course.
I believe
Because
Mary Todd would have prepared properly, but we had no warning of this trip, I must say. I'm very surprised. I only just moved into the White House myself, as you can see. It's not up to your European standards, I'm sure.
it's still beautiful. It's a bit small, but it's still very beautiful. I think every
But
nation has
what
a
brings
charter.
such prominent European leaders to my doorstep? What brings you to the United
Well-
States?
Potential trade agreements.
Trade, of course.
Exactly. The American markets are big, and
They
the
are.
Ottoman Empire produces a lot of things that the Americans should know about.
And my government just enacted a dedicated police force.
Ah.
Congratulations.
It's good to hear. It's very good to hear. I will say that the United States is always open to trade with European partners. We have a very good relationship with the French, though, and I will say, as our oldest ally and our first supporter, they will come first. But of course, Prussia did acknowledge us very early on. We're happy to make deals with you. Is there something you had in mind specifically?
Well, whatever you may need, you can trade with the Prussian market. I noticed you already trading coal with us.
Of
As
course.
we have a large sprawling coal.
We've had some very innovative citizens of the United States who have invented new ways of processing things that require coal. We are doing our best to produce our own, but for now, as you well know, the finest is to be found within the mines of Prussia, which we will continue to import, I imagine, for some time.
Oh. That sounds really good, and maybe we could take this a step further and propose a proper trade agreement so we can lower our tariffs.
I will say that it is of pinnacle importance that the United States does stay independent from Europe. So my first question to both Prussia and the Ottoman Empire, to the Honorable Sultan and Kaiser, would be whether or not you would respect the Monroe Doctrine. I'm not a warlike man, but I do stand by my predecessors in that capacity.
The Ottoman Empire would support the Monroe Doctrine.
The Prussian kingdom has no interest in America as far as colonies are concerned.
That is
We
wonderful to
fully
hear. That brings me much joy. In that case, a deal could certainly be made.
This is a good day for all of our countries, and I want to give you a present, a gift.
A
Mr.
gift?
President.
You're very kind,
Abraham
man.
Lincoln. I have
So I
a
give for you.
beautiful fez from the Ottoman Empire, as well as
A
one
fez?
rack. Yeah, very.
In that case, I have a few extra. Mary Todd, would you please bring me one of my hats, please? Great Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, since you were so nice to give me this Ottoman fez, I will return the favor with giving you one of my top hats. I hope it will fit. I have quite a few of them. They're very tall, but I find that they strike a very good complexion for me, and I'm sure it'll look very good on you.
Well, let me see. This looks beautiful, and the quality is quite impressive.
Can I see that?
Thank you very much.
See you later, Mr. President.
Farewell. Safe journey back to Europe.
Thank you.
Here, I brought you a beer when I come all this way. Take it and goodbye.
Thank you. So many European gifts. So many. Alright, we have banned slavery. Abraham Lincoln has successfully banned slavery without starting a civil war. The Southern planters are very unhappy, but they're not trying to start a revolution. So, we may have successfully abolished slavery without going to war. Shockingly. Wow. That's huge.